far from Earth, on a massive alien medical station called Orion Medical Ring, many species came for treatment. The station floated quietly above a huge blue gas giant. From a distance, it looked like a bright silver ring glowing against the darkness of space. Ships from many star systems slowly moved in and out of its docking bays. Inside the station were advanced machines, strange medicines, and doctors from dozens of alien civilizations. Some doctors had forearms, some had glowing eyes, some looked nothing like anything humans had ever seen. But humans were new visitors here. Most alien species believed humans were fragile, simple, and biologically weak compared to the advanced races of the galaxy. Because of this belief, humans were rarely allowed access to powerful alien medicine. Most hospitals kept their most advanced treatments locked away from human patients. One day, a human cargo pilot named Daniel Carter arrived at the station. Daniel had spent months traveling between distant colonies delivering supplies and machine parts. But during his last mission, his cargo ship had suffered a small radiation leak during a storm in deep space. The damage was not serious, but the radiation had made him feel weak and dizzy. His head hurt, his body felt heavy. So when he reached the Orion Medical Ring, he decided to check into the alien hospital for treatment. The medical wing felt strange the moment he entered. Bright blue lights glowed softly from the walls. Machines floated silently through the air, moving between patients and scanning them with beams of light. Tubes filled with glowing liquids ran across the ceiling like veins. Different alien species waited quietly in the room. Some looked nervous, some looked calm, some didn't move at all. Daniel sat down and tried not to stare too much. Then a nurse approached him. At first glance, she looked almost human. But the longer Daniel looked, the more he noticed the differences. Her skin had a pale blue color. Her eyes glowed softly like small lights. Her movements were extremely smooth and precise, almost like a machine. Her long dark hair was braided neatly behind her back. A small badge on her uniform slowly translated into human language. Nurse Sira, xenobiology specialist. She held a small floating scanner and gently moved it around Daniel's body. The scanner made a soft beeping sound. Radiation exposure detected, she said calmly. Her voice sounded smooth and controlled. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, he said. My ship had a small accident during a storm. Sira nodded once. Treatment is recommended. She motioned for him to follow her. Daniel stood up and walked behind her through a long hallway filled with strange medical equipment. Some devices floated beside the walls. Others moved quietly along the ceiling. Eventually, they entered a small treatment room. Inside were dozens of medical tools Daniel had never seen before. Some were floating metal arms. Others were small containers filled with glowing liquids. Sira walked to a locked cabinet and opened it. Inside were several syringes. Each one contained a different glowing liquid, blue, green, yellow, and one deep violet. She reached inside and picked one of them. Daniel watched quietly, but then he noticed something strange. For a brief moment, Sira's expression changed. Her glowing eyes widened slightly, just for a second. Then her face returned to its calm professional look. Daniel assumed it was nothing. Sira turned toward him. Please remain still, she said. Daniel rolled up his sleeve and relaxed his arm. The nurse gently pressed the syringe into his skin. The violet liquid slowly entered his bloodstream. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly Daniel felt something strange. A wave of heat spread to his body. His heart started beating faster. His muscles tightened. His vision became sharper, much sharper. He could suddenly hear things he had never noticed before. The quiet humming of machines across the room, the faint electrical buzz inside the walls, even the soft breathing of someone walking in the hallway outside. Daniel blinked in confusion. What the? Sira suddenly froze. Her eyes slowly moved toward the empty syringe in her hand, then toward the open container behind her. Her pale blue face lost all color. She looked completely shocked. For the first time, her calm expression was gone. She whispered something quietly in her own alien language. Then she stepped closer to Daniel. Very close. Her glowing eyes were filled with fear. Her voice became barely audible. This wasn't for humans. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? Sira grabbed his shoulder firmly. Her voice dropped even lower. Don't say a word. At that exact moment, loud alarms suddenly echoed through the medical station. Red warning lights began flashing across the walls, and somewhere in the distance, heavy security doors began to close. Red warning lights flashed across the walls of the medical station. The calm and quiet hospital suddenly turned into chaos. Alarms echoed through the hallways. Metal doors began sliding shut one by one. Security drones flew quickly through the corridors, scanning everything they saw. Inside the treatment room, Daniel Carter sat on the medical chair, confused and breathing heavily. His heart was beating faster than normal. But strangely, he did not feel weak anymore. In fact, he felt the opposite. He felt stronger. Nurse Sierra quickly walked to the control panel beside the door and pressed several buttons. The room's privacy shield activated, turning the glass walls dark. The alarms outside became quieter. Daniel looked at her. "What is going on?" he asked. Sierra turned toward him slowly. Her glowing blue eyes studied his face carefully. "You should be dead," she said softly. Daniel blinked. "That's not a comforting thing to hear." Sierra ignored his joke. She lifted a small scanner again and began scanning his body. The machine projected glowing symbols into the air. Her expression became more serious with every second. Daniel rubbed his arm where the injection had been given. "What exactly did you inject into me? What exactly did you inject into me?" Sierra hesitated. Then she answered quietly, "That serum is classified medical technology." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Sounds expensive." Sierra shook her head. "No, it is something far more dangerous." She pointed to the scanner results floating in the air. That injection was designed for only one species in the galaxy. Daniel waited. The Tyrellians. Daniel recognized the name. The Tyrellians were famous across many star systems. They were known as powerful warriors. Their soldiers were stronger and faster than almost any other species. Their bodies had been genetically enhanced for combat. "Let me guess," Daniel said slowly. "Humans are not supposed to take that." Sierra looked directly at him. "No human has ever survived it." Daniel looked down at his hands. They didn't look different, but something inside his body felt strange. His muscles felt tighter. His breathing felt deeper. Even his vision felt clearer. Sierra moved the scanner closer. The device beeped faster. Her eyes widened. "That is impossible." Daniel leaned forward. "What?" "The serum is stabilizing," she said. "That's good, right?" "No." Daniel frowned. "No?" Sierra shook her head slowly. "The serum should be destroying your cells. Human DNA is not strong enough to survive it." Daniel took a deep breath. "Well, I'm still here." Sierra continued staring at the scanner results. The data kept changing. Daniel's heart rate was increasing, but not dangerously. His muscles were becoming stronger. His nervous system was adapting. It was as if his body was learning how to use the serum. "This makes no sense," Sierra whispered. Before Daniel could respond, the door suddenly shook. Someone was trying to open it. A deep mechanical voice spoke from outside. "Medical room 14. Open the door immediately." Sierra's eyes narrowed. "Station security." Daniel looked at her. "You going to tell them what happened?" Sierra hesitated. If the station's security learned that a human had received Tyrellian combat serum, Daniel would immediately become a research subject, or worse. The door shook again. "Open the door now." Sierra quickly walked to Daniel and spoke quietly. "Listen carefully." Daniel leaned closer. "If they discover what is inside your bloodstream, they will not treat you as a patient." Daniel sighed. "Let me guess, lab experiment." "Yes." The door lock began forcing itself open. Heavy metal bolts moved slowly. Daniel stood up from the chair, and that was when he noticed something strange. He stood up much faster than he expected, too fast. Even Sierra noticed. The scanner beeped again. Daniel's strength levels had increased even more. The door suddenly burst open. 3 armored alien security officers stepped inside. Behind them floated a black surveillance drone. The leader looked at Sierra. An alert was triggered from restricted medical storage. His glowing visor turned toward Daniel. "What species is the patient?" Sierra stayed silent. The officer stepped closer. The drone scanned Daniel instantly. A loud electronic beep filled the room. Then the drone's red light turned bright. The officer froze. "That reading cannot be correct." The scanner repeated the result. "Tyrellian combat serum Batich." The guards looked at Daniel with shock. One of them spoke slowly. "That human should already be dead." Daniel looked at them calmly. "Good news," he said. "I'm not." But something inside his body continued changing. His senses were sharper. His strength was increasing. And without anyone realizing it yet, the injection that should have killed him was making him something else entirely. The treatment room became completely silent. The security officer stared at Daniel as if they were looking at something impossible. The scanner drone hovered closer to him, its red light flashing as it repeated the same message again and again. "Tyrellian combat serum detected." One of the guards slowly lowered his weapon. That cannot be correct, he said. The serum is fatal to non-Tyrellian biology. The lead officer looked at Daniel carefully, but the human is still alive. Daniel stood quietly near the medical chair. His body still felt strange, but not painful. Actually, he felt better than he had in months. His breathing was steady. His muscles felt stronger. Even his mind felt clearer. It was like his body had suddenly become more efficient. Nurse Sarah stepped forward. "This was an accident," she said calmly. The officer turned toward her. "Explain." Sarah took a slow breath. "The patient arrived with radiation exposure. I accessed the medical storage container and selected the wrong serum." The officer's eyes narrowed. "You selected the most restricted genetic enhancement serum in the entire medical wing." Sarah remained silent. The officer looked back at Daniel. The drone scanned him again. The readings were still changing. His heart rate was rising, but his body temperature was stable. The serum was not killing him. It was adapting. One of the guards whispered quietly, "That should not be possible." The lead officer spoke again. "Human biology should not survive this level of genetic rewriting." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, apparently it can." The guards ignored him. The officer activated a communication device on his arm. "Command, this is Security Team 7. We have a medical anomaly." A voice answered through the communicator. "Explain." "Human patient injected with restricted Tyrellian combat serum." There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, much more serious. "Is the patient alive?" The officer looked at Daniel. "Yes." Another pause. Then the command voice spoke again. "Secure the patient immediately. Do not allow him to leave the medical wing." Daniel raised his hand slightly. "Okay, now I'm getting worried." Two guards stepped forward. They pulled out glowing restraint cuffs. "Human Daniel Carter," the officer said. "You are now under medical containment." Daniel frowned. "Containment?" Daniel frowned. "Containment? You will be transferred to a research facility for further study." Daniel sighed. "I knew you were going to say that." He looked towards Sarah. She did not look happy. In fact, she looked more worried than before. Daniel noticed something else too. The guards were watching him carefully, not like a normal patient, like a dangerous animal. The first guard stepped closer with the cuffs. "Place your hands forward." Daniel slowly lifted his arms, but the moment the guard tried to grab him, something strange happened. Daniel moved, fast, much faster than he expected. Before the guard even realized what happened, Daniel had stepped aside. The alien guard stumbled forward in surprise. Everyone froze. Daniel blinked. "Oh, sorry." The second guard immediately raised his weapon. "Do not move." Daniel lifted his hands again. "Relax, relax. I didn't mean to do that." But the scanner drone suddenly beeped again. New data appeared in the air. Sarah looked at it quickly. Her eyes widened. "The serum is still evolving," she whispered. The officer turned toward her. "What do you mean?" She pointed at the scanner results. "His nervous system speed has increased." Daniel scratched his head. "So, that explains the sudden ninja reflexes." No one laughed. The officer spoke coldly. "Human, you will remain still." Daniel nodded. "Trust me, I'm not trying to escape." But deep inside his body, the serum continued working. His muscles were becoming stronger, his senses sharper, his reflexes faster. The guards stepped forward again, this time carefully. They placed the glowing cuffs around Daniel's wrists. The cuffs locked with a soft click. Daniel tested them. They were strong, very strong. The officer turned toward Sarah. "You will come with us as well." Sarah nodded slowly. "I understand." The guards escorted Daniel toward the hallway. The moment the door opened, Daniel noticed something strange. He could hear things far away. Security drones moving in distant corridors. Doctors speaking 2 rooms away. Even the humming of the station's power cord deep inside the structure. His senses had become incredibly sharp. Daniel looked at his hands again. "What exactly did that injection do to me?" Sarah walked beside him quietly. She spoke very softly so the guards would not hear. "It changed you." Daniel looked at her. "How much?" Sarah hesitated. Then she whispered something that made Daniel uneasy. "That serum was designed to create the strongest soldiers in the galaxy." Daniel swallowed. "And now it's inside me." Sarah nodded. "Yes." They walked through the long corridor of the medical wing. Many alien patients stared at them as they passed. Some looked curious, some looked nervous, but none of them knew the truth. Inside Daniel's body, a forbidden alien power was awakening, and the entire station was about to realize something terrifying. The serum had not made the human weaker, it had made him stronger. The security team escorted Daniel through the long metallic corridor of the Orion Medical Ring. The flashing red light slowly faded as the station alarms returned to normal. But the tension in the air had not disappeared. Alien patients watched quietly as the guards walked past them. Some whispered to each other. A few even moved away, keeping distance from the humans surrounded by security officers. Daniel noticed all of it. His senses had become strangely sharp. He could hear their whispers even from far away. Human combat serum, impossible, impossible. The words traveled clearly to his ears. Daniel exhaled slowly. Okay, he muttered to himself. This day just keeps getting better. The guards led him into a large security chamber deep inside the station. The room looked more like a military control center than a hospital area. Thick metal doors sealed behind them. Several floating screens showed live scans of the station. At the center of the room stood a tall alien, wearing dark command armor. His silver skin reflected the light from the screens. His eyes were calm but sharp. This was Commander Velkar. This is Commander Velkar, the security chief of Orion Medical Ring. He turned slowly when Daniel entered. For a few seconds he said nothing. He simply studied the human. Then his gaze moved to Nurse Sira. Report. Sira stepped forward. Human patient Daniel Carter arrived for radiation treatment, she explained. During medical preparation, I mistakenly administered Tyrellian combat serum. The room fell silent. One of the technicians behind the commander turned in shock. Commander Velkar remained calm, and the patient survived. Yes, Velkar looked at Daniel again. This is unexpected. Daniel lifted his cuffed hands slightly. Trust me, it's unexpected for me too. Velkar walked closer, very close. He looked directly into Daniel's eyes as if trying to understand something. You should already be dead, Velkar said. Daniel shrugged. Apparently my body disagrees. Velkar turned toward the technicians. Run a full genetic scan. A floating scanner moved forward and surrounded Daniel with soft blue light. Data appeared across the screens, DNA patterns, cellular activity, energy levels. The technicians began whispering. The data kept changing. Finally, one of them spoke. Commander, the serum is not rejecting his body. Velkar narrowed his eyes. Explain. Velkar narrowed his eyes. Explain. The technician continued reading the results. Human DNA is adapting. The cells are reorganizing themselves to accept the Tyrellian modifications. Another technician added quietly, it appears human genetics are extremely flexible. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Flexible? Daniel raised an eyebrow. Flexible. The technician looked at him nervously. In simple terms, your body is learning how to use the serum. The room became quiet again. Velkar crossed his arms. This is not good. Daniel tilted his head. Not good for who? Velkar ignored the question. Instead, he turned toward Sira. Do you understand what this means? Sira nodded slowly. Yes. Velkar spoke with a serious tone. The Tyrellians guard their combat serum with extreme secrecy. Their soldiers are feared across the galaxy because of it. He looked back at Daniel, and now we have a human who survived the injection. Daniel shifted slightly in his restraints. I feel like I'm about to become very unpopular. Velkar gave a small nod. You are correct. He walked toward the central screen and activated a new display. Information about human biology appeared. Most species in the galaxy have stable DNA structures, Velkar explained. They cannot easily change. He pointed at Daniel's scan. But human DNA is different. The technician continued the explanation. It adapts very quickly. That is why humans survive in so many environments. Velkar finished the sentence. And that is why the serum is not killing him. The realization slowly spread through the room. If one human could survive the serum, then other humans might also survive it. Daniel finally asked the question that had been on his mind. So what happens now? Velkar turned back toward him. His voice was calm but serious. That depends on what we decide to do with you. Daniel frowned. That sounds concerning. Velkar walked closer again. You are no longer just a patient, Daniel Carter. He gestured toward the scanner results. You are now proof of something the galaxy never expected. Daniel waited. Velkar finished the sentence. Humans may be compatible with the most powerful genetic technology in existence. The technicians looked uneasy. Sira looked worried. And Daniel slowly realized something. If the galaxy discovered this secret, humans would never be treated as weak again. But they might also become the most feared species in the galaxy. Velkar gave a quiet order. Prepare a full containment protocol. The guards tightened their grip on Daniel. And deep inside Daniel's body, the alien serum continued evolving. making him stronger, faster, and something else, something the galaxy was not ready to face. The security chamber remained silent after Commander Velkar's words. Every alien in the room stared at the holographic scans floating above Daniel Carter. Lines of glowing data moved across the screens, showing changes inside the human body every second. The numbers kept rising. Strength levels, neural activity, muscle efficiency, everything was increasing. One of the technicians spoke quietly. "Commander, the serum is still adapting." Velkar looked at the display again. "How fast?" "Faster than expected." Velkar looked at the display again. "How fast?" "Faster than expected." Another technician added nervously. "The human nervous system is evolving with the serum. Reaction speed is increasing." Daniel shifted slightly in the restraint cuffs. "Should I be worried about that?" No one answered. Velkar slowly walked toward Daniel again. His silver eyes studied the human carefully. "You said your name is Daniel Carter." "Yeah, cargo pilot." "That's right." Velkar nodded once. "Tell me something, Daniel Carter." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Sure." Velkar folded his arms. "Do you feel any pain?" Daniel paused. He thought about it. His body still felt warm from the injection, but it was not painful. Actually, he felt better than before. Stronger, more alert. His breathing was steady. His muscles felt ready to move at any moment. "No," Daniel said honestly. "I feel fine." One technician whispered in shock. "That should not be possible." Velkar nodded slowly. The serum was designed for a warrior species. He looked at Daniel again. The Turellians built it to create soldiers that could survive extreme combat conditions. Daniel glanced at the scanner display. "So, basically, I got injected with alien super soldier juice." No one laughed. Velkar remained serious. "Yes." Daniel sighed. "Well, that explains the weird day I'm having." The commander turned toward the guards, removed the restraints. The guards hesitated. "Commander," Velkar repeated the order. "Remove them." Slowly, the glowing cuffs around Daniel's wrists unlocked. Daniel rubbed his wrists as the guards stepped back. The room remained tense. Velkar wanted to observe something. "Walk," the commander ordered. Daniel blinked. "Just walk?" "Yes." Daniel shrugged and began walking across the room. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But then something strange happened. Daniel moved faster than he intended. His body reacted quicker than normal. When he reached the other side of the room, he turned around. "Okay, that felt weird." One technician quickly checked the scanner again. "Commander, his muscle efficiency increased another 4%. Velkar narrowed his eyes. "Run." Daniel laughed slightly. "You want me to run in a hospital control room?" "Run." Daniel sighed. "All right." He leaned forward and pushed off the floor. And the next second, he crossed the room in a blur of movement. Several technicians stepped back in surprise. One dropped a tool. Daniel stopped near the wall and stared at his own legs. "Okay, that was definitely not normal." The scanner beeped loudly again. The numbers continued rising. The serum was still working. Velkar finally spoke again. "This confirms it." Sarah looked worried. "Commander," Velkar raised his hand to silence her. "The human body is not rejecting the serum." He turned toward the technicians. "It is improving it." The room became quiet again. Daniel slowly realized what that meant. "You're saying my body is making the serum stronger?" One technician answered. "Yes." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "That seems like something someone should have tested before today." Velkar began walking slowly around Daniel. "This is a problem." Daniel tilted his head. "For you?" Velkar stopped. "For the entire galaxy." He pointed to the scanner results. The Turellian combat serum was created to give one species military superiority. He paused. "But humans appear capable of using it without the same biological limitations." Sira stepped forward. "Commander, if this information spreads..." Velkar finished her sentence. "Every major power in the galaxy will want access to human biology." Daniel frowned. "Wait, that sounds bad." Velkar nodded. "Very bad." The commander looked at the guards again. "Seal this chamber. No one enters or leaves without my authorization." The doors closed with a loud metallic sound. Daniel looked around the room. "So what happens now?" Velkar answered calmly. "Now we decide what to do with a human who should not exist." Daniel leaned against the wall. "Well, I vote for letting me go home." No one responded. The commander looked at the data one last time. The serum was still evolving inside Daniel's body. Every second, the human was becoming stronger, faster, more dangerous, and Velkar understood something clearly now. The galaxy had always believed humans were weak. But if this discovery was real, humanity might become the most powerful species in the stars, and that possibility terrified him. The security chamber remained sealed. Thick metal doors locked tightly behind Daniel Carter. The glowing control panels around the room displayed the same shocking data again and again. Every few seconds, the scanner updated Daniel's biological readings, and every update showed the same thing. The serum was still working. Commander Velkar stood near the main display, watching the numbers change. Muscle efficiency increasing, neural speed increasing, cellular regeneration stabilizing. One technician finally spoke. "Commander, his body has fully accepted the serum." Velkar looked at the screen carefully. "How stable?" The technician checked the results again. "Extremely stable." Another technician added, "More stable than Tyrellian soldiers." The room fell silent. Even the guards looked uncomfortable now. Velkar slowly turned toward Daniel. "You understand what this means?" Daniel leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. "Honestly, not really." Velkar walked closer. For thousands of years, the Tyrellians had been one of the most feared species in the galaxy. He pointed at the display. "Their combat serum gives them superior strength, speed, and endurance." Daniel nodded slowly. "Yeah, you mentioned that," Velkar continued. "But their biology has limits. The serum pushes their bodies to the edge of survival." He paused. "But your body," Velkar looked directly at Daniel. "Your body is adapting far beyond those limits." Daniel frowned slightly. "So you're saying humans handle this stuff better?" One of the technicians answered. "Yes." Daniel scratched his head. "That feels like something humans should probably know about." Velkar remained serious. "That is exactly the problem." The commander turned to the technicians again. "Project the long-term predictions." The screens changed. New calculations appeared across the room. They showed what might happen if humans gained access to this serum technology. The results were alarming. Human soldiers could become stronger than Tyrellians. Human reaction speeds could surpass most known species, and because humans reproduced faster than many alien races, the numbers became frightening very quickly. One technician whispered quietly, "If humans develop this technology, the balance of power will collapse." Velkar nodded. "Yes." Daniel stared at the screens. "Well, when you say it like that, it sounds kind of dramatic." Velkar looked at him again. "You misunderstand something, Daniel Carter." "What?" "This is not only about power." Velkar walked closer. "Humans are unpredictable." Daniel laughed softly. "Yeah, we get that a lot." Velkar continued. "You fight wars even against stronger enemies. You survive disasters that destroy other civilizations. And your species adapts faster than almost any other life form we have studied." He gestured toward Daniel, "And now we have proof." Daniel took a deep breath. "So, I'm basically a walking problem." Velkar answered calmly, "Yes." The room became quiet again. Then Sura finally spoke. "Commander, this was my mistake." Velkar looked toward her. "I selected the wrong serum." Velkar shook his head slowly. "No." Everyone looked at him in surprise. This was not a mistake. Sura frowned. "Commander?" Velkar looked back at Daniel. "This was a discovery." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound good either." Velkar walked toward the control console and pressed a command. The sealed door behind them opened slowly. The guards looked confused. "Commander?" Velkar spoke conclused. "Commander?" Velkar spoke clearly. "Release the human." Daniel blinked. "Wait, really?" Velkar nodded. "Yes." The guard stepped aside. Daniel cautiously walked toward the door. "This feels suspiciously easy." Velkar gave a small smile. "Because this situation is bigger than one station." Daniel stopped at the doorway. "What do you mean?" Velkar answered calmly. "The galaxy will eventually learn what happened here." He pointed toward Daniel. "And when they do, they will begin watching humanity much more carefully." Daniel thought about that. Then he shrugged slightly. "Humans are used to being watched." Velkar studied him for a moment. Then he spoke one final sentence. "Just remember something, Daniel Carter." Daniel looked back. Velkar's voice was calm but serious. Humans were never meant to have that power. Daniel smiled slightly. "Maybe." He turned and walked into the hallway. "But humans have a habit of surviving things we weren't meant to." The door closed behind him. Inside the security chamber, the technician stared at the last scanner, readings still floating in the air. A human had survived the most dangerous combat serum in the galaxy, and the data suggested something even more terrifying. Human biology was not just compatible with the serum, it might actually be perfect for it. Far away on a small blue planet called Earth, Billions of humans lived their normal lives, completely unaware that one small medical mistake had just changed the future of the galaxy, because somewhere in space, a human now carried a power that aliens feared. And if humanity ever learned how to use it, the galaxy might never be the same again.